I've been looking all over YouTube for the review on the Malibu Stealth 14, and I have not been able to find one. I did find one on the 12, but it was really, I think the guy was taking it out for a demo, and it was maybe 30 seconds, and he covered a couple things on it, but not nearly as in-depth as what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and keep it as brief as possible, give you all the pros and cons in no particular order, just as I walk through it. Just kind of go through the list of what I think works and what I think could be rethought. So yeah, we're gonna get to it. Dude, look at that monster. God. Yeah, I don't know how that got in there. Promo drop. So first things first, I'm not a big fan of handles that go vertical. I'm more of a horizontal kind of person, just because it's a lot easier to move the kayak around, especially if you're going down to the beach or something. So what I did is a quick fix, some 4-inch PVC, tied it to the handle. Now I got a horizontal handle. Problem solved. Works great. I tuck it in, it's out of the way. Perfect. Now I've only seen a couple companies that go with the horizontal. I think Jackson does it on a couple of their models. I think Old Town might do it as well. Another thing that they have is, for lack of a better word, hooks. And what they do is it just cinches down the hood. And there's another one down here. I don't like them because my line gets caught around that quite a bit. And if you got a big fish and he happens to be running in any direction and you can't get your rod around, your line's going to break. So I wish they would move them up to here and get them out of the way, but I'm not a big fan of them. Nice size hatch. You got a lot of space in there. One thing I also do, so you got kind of like a paddle park here, which I don't know if they intended it, but you just slide it underneath the bungee. Your hand's free. Nice feature if you have a kayak that has a bungee and didn't realize that you could do that. It's a cool feature. Oh, another thing I wanted to touch on is take the bungee here and wrap it around this to get even a tighter seal, which I don't ever really do because it stretches out the cords even more. So and I only do it maybe if I'm going offshore, but even then I kind of don't even mess with it. Foot pegs, pretty standard. You just push them in, they clip in. Pretty easy to adjust, nothing fancy. Gear track in the middle. I don't really use that a whole bunch. Side hatches. These are actually pretty valuable, you know. I don't put a lot of stuff in there, but they do work well. The only thing that I've ran into in the past on my old 12 is these broke, the hatches, these little plastic pieces. So that might be something to be aware of if you do buy one, or if you do have one, just to watch them over time if they break. And you can go to, I think it's crackadon.com, you can get all the replacement parts. These are actually the same size as the older model, the older 14 and the older 12, so you literally can just buy those, replace them, and they'll fit perfectly. They did revise the center hatch. First off, this used to be a screw cap, and now they've made it flush, where you can just pop it open, close it. I'm not a big fan of this because it's exposed and, you know, I don't know, stuff getting snagged on it, maybe breaking over time. Soon to find that out, how long that lasts. But there is actually a cup that goes inside this that fits this perfectly, and it goes and almost touches the bottom of the live well, so you can put your keys or, you know, anything else in there you want to put. Center live well slash more storage. They put a seal around the hatch because originally it used to be plastic on plastic. Now it's a lot more quieter, or more quiet. So that was a nice little change. And they also, see these holes here? I don't know if you can see them, probably better over there. So they have these holes for the drainage, you know, if water gets inside the track. Well, the issue I have, since the balance of the kayak is a little bit more towards the back, so all that water builds up here and eventually ends up in the tank well. So if you're looking for a completely dry storage, it may not work for you. So if you do put something in there, maybe put in a dry bag or something to think about down the road. And originally, I think they had this, it was in the middle, and they moved it over to the side. Drainage, so if the water gets too high, if you have live bait in here, it'll drain out. I'll go into the scupper hole. What else? We'll get into the seat. I actually have made some modifications to it. Not much, but a little bit. But you would think if you're spending 1,800 bucks on a kayak, you don't want to put more money into the seat. I was fortunately able to do that because the original kayak that I got from them was shipped and it got damaged, and they actually shipped me a new one for the same cost that I bought. The original one was, I think, was 1,100 bucks. So I had some extra money in there to, you know, $700 difference to put that towards a couple changes that I really think need to be made. And I'm hoping Malibu listens and watches this video because they definitely need to make these changes. So this 4-inch padding, I actually bought that on Amazon. I don't know the exact dimensions of it off the top of my head, but it fits between the seat and the frame perfectly, and it's needed support because what they did is there's just a metal frame, and this black area is padding. You know, all this is padding, but it's, I don't know, a 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch, which is nothing if you're sitting on it. And you're sitting on a metal frame, it's, you know, it's not comfortable. So I just took the screws off here and here and just made the padding fit in between the seat and the frame. And the other issue I was having without the padding, my legs were resting on top of this bar, and that is not comfortable at all. It puts a lot of pressure on the back of your legs, and if you're trying to spend a lot of time out on the water, you know, you want to be comfortable, and that wasn't working. Made those changes, super comfortable now. I would say before I made the changes to the seat, it was C+, C, somewhere around there. And now that I've made the changes, it's, I'd say a B+, maybe an A-. Big difference on just those two changes, and I'll tell you what the second change is too. All right, so back to the seat. I actually put a backrest on here because the issue I was having with the way that you adjust the seat is there's a button here you push in and then you turn it, and then it's also on the other side that you do the same thing, and you have to engage them at the same time to adjust the seat, which I'm not a big fan of because there's too many moving parts with that. I mean, it works, but look how much give there is in it, and it's actually more comfortable for me to have it in that position, but it won't stay in that position because there's too much play. So I'm not a big fan of how they designed the seat. I honestly think it would have been better if they did some kind of like pin system where that side was just free moving, or actually both of them were just free, and there's this pin where you take out the pin and it's got basically like a 90-degree increments. You know, you could just switch it, pull the pin out, put it in, and this, you know, the seat would just move with it. But I don't know, I'm worried about this breaking, and am I 100% happy with it? It, you know, it works, it's not that bad, but you know, it functions, it does what it's supposed to do. A couple other things is, what I've done is just take in, I think these are night eyes, and they're just wire, rubber coating wire. It won't ever rust out, and I just wrapped it around the seat. It won't ever come off. It's actually works great. I got my shoes in the back, which I'm not sure if Malibu intended this, but there's webbing to adjust the tension of the seat. And I've actually I have my shoes back there. I've actually put my rod. I know it sounds kind of weird, but if you were in a pinch and you need to put your rod up there, I've actually done that, and it, lo and behold, it actually holds and it stays there. So if you ever feel like putting your rod up there, have at it. Another thing that they did is there's 4 screws here, and then there's 2 screws down at the bottom. That was, so what they did was so picture having a suitcase handle, and you click it and you raise it up. Well, that was the same process, or the same concept that they had to put back here, where it would turn into a leaning post. So you would lean on it and kind of sit on it, almost like you're kind of half standing but half sitting. Wasn't comfortable. I took it off, and it gave me, I probably lost 5 pounds off the seat because of that. Too many moving parts. Just, it was hard to adjust when you're on the water, and it didn't serve a purpose in my eyes. I might just do another promo drop. Jesus Christ. I also forgot to mention that if you go on Malibu's website, there's actually a tray that goes inside the kayak. So it's a divider between the inside of the hull, or the hull, and the hatch itself. So I don't know what happened, why I didn't get that. I didn't get that on the original one that I purchased. So why they show it on their website, but yet they didn't give it to me. I could have got 2 lemons. I have no idea, but yeah, I never got the tray. Another thing is there's supposed to be 2 rod holders. The original kayak that I got, sorry, 4 rod holders. 2 on the front, and then there's 2 on the back. The original kayak I got had the 2 rod holders on the front. Obviously the one I have now does not have the 2 rod holders. What happened with that? I don't know. Oversight. Would I use the 2 on the front? Probably not, because you have to reach substantially to get that far, and I'm 6'2", and it's a reach, and you have to slide up on the seat, and not having them is actually probably a good thing. So the seat obviously lifts up. You can put storage underneath it. There's 2, for lack of a better word, 2 claws for the seat that lock in so it can't move. There's 2 buckles on the side. There's one on this side, one on the other side. Plastic buckles. You just snap them in, snap them out. Ties the seat down. I put 2 rack pads that used to go on my racks for my kayak. Now the issue I was having was the seat. The seat was facing too far back, and it was putting pressure on my legs, which is why I made the changes to the seat. So now what I've done with putting that padding in the back, I've actually have 3 positions. If I take the padding out, I'm in the dead low position. If I put the padding in, which I'm in 99% of the time because it's a perfect compromise between low and the high position, believe it or not, the pads fit perfect back there, which is great. And then if you put the seat in the high position, it'll rest in these. And moving the seat to the high position it's pretty hard. You almost have to turn around and do a 180 to do it. If you're in kind of rough water, you don't have good stability, they didn't make it easy to do. So in a nutshell, what you have to do is these 2 little claws rotate up. You grab the seat. Mind you, I'm doing this one-handed, so it's kind of hard to do and see. But they then grab into there. You cinch down the buckle, and now the seat, you notice, is now on that upper part that I put the pads on. So you get pretty high. Mind you, I don't use it a whole bunch because sometimes it's hard to get fish out of the water. But yeah, you got a good high position. Center hatch, they didn't have that before. They originally had, this used to be one open tank well, and they've now segmented where you have a hatch and you can take out the liner. So now you have access to the inside, and it attaches by these little clips. It works well. Would I say it's waterproof? Maybe not. It's watertight, but I've actually had no water get in there. So nice little feature to have that. My crate is longer. It's more of a rectangle than a square, so it's longer than it is wide. But to give you an idea of how much space you have, I don't know the exact dimensions of my crate. I can put it in the description, and that'll give you a good idea of how long the tank well is. They did, when they changed the tank well, they, for some reason, instead of this being open, they kind of beveled it out, I don't know, about 1 inch, so you lose a little bit of space there. Not a big deal. If you want to put a hatch in the back, cut that out. Handle, again, I wish they would have went horizontal. Drainage plug. That's basically it in a nutshell. Nothing really too fancy about it. It tracks extremely well. It's not the fastest kayak in the world, but it is straight as an arrow. Every time you paddle, you'll get a little bit of sway left and right, but it's very minimal, so you're not using extra energy to constantly straighten the kayak. Obviously it's 14 feet, that helps, but it tracks great. Standing on it, even more stable than my 12. My 12 was extremely stable. This is even more stable than that. I can throw a 6-foot cast net off of both of them without any problem whatsoever. And yeah, it's a really, really good kayak. I did have some issues with, one other thing I forgot to cover. So I had issues when I got my original kayak that got damaged. I had issues with the drainage plug was actually leaking water when I use it as a live well. And when I say that, it was leaking into the kayak, into the hull, which doesn't make any sense to me, because if they literally drilled out a hole straight through the kayak, how was water getting into the hull? It's like drilling a hole in a piece of wood. How was it getting? I don't know. I couldn't figure that out, but I eventually contacted them, and actually I've never heard back from them. I did call them, and the guy I forgot what his name was. He did give me an idea of what to do, which I was already thinking, but he basically just put some, he said put some marine goo or pull plug, take the plug out and put it around that, and I did that, and it still actually leaks very, very little. I mean, it's, you can see there's like little droplets up there. You might not be able to see it, but it's to find that out, because when it was leaking, I literally was out in the water for probably like 6 or 7 hours, and I was like, man, my kayak's not moving very well. It seems real heavy and sluggish, and lo and behold, I get back to the freaking boat ramp and that thing is just taking on like a gallon of water. So that could have turned in, if I was offshore, that could have turned into a major problem. And so I'm not really happy about that, and them never ever getting back to me on how to remedy the situation. That's bad customer service. But yet when I had my first kayak that they sent me that got damaged, they were all over helping me get the new one, how to handle the whole situation with the shipping company and what they need to do. Knocked that out of the park. But with this problem I had with the drainage plug leaking, they dropped the ball. It is what it is. I fixed it myself, so what are you gonna do? But yeah, it's a great kayak. I think they need to work on the seat, and I think they need to get rid of the 4 latch down points for the bungee cords. Those, not get rid of, they just need to move them. And another thing they could probably do is maybe even take some notes from Jackson. They have a great hatch system. It just has 2 easy latches on the bottom of the hatch, open, close, no bungee, and their paddle park is just 1 slip, and you don't have to worry about your line getting caught on the bungee, which is great. And not that my line gets caught on there a lot now, but it does from time to time. And that bungee area is so tiny, like what are you going to put under there besides my paddle? You're not much. So one thing I forgot to mention about the kayak was all the padding that I put on it. So obviously the hatch, center hatch, side hatches, feet, you could actually sit there, believe it or not. Up there, all there, obviously there, and then obviously I have it behind that, but it's from a company called HydroTurf. And what I did was I just bought a whole entire sheet, which I think was 47 inches by 80 something inches, and I literally just cut everything out. I'm actually a graphic designer, so I kind of had to measure everything out, and it actually wasn't that hard. It took a while to cut everything out and then to kind of make sure everything was sized correctly. But for what did I pay? $150, I think, for a whole entire sheet. And mind you, I could probably do my kayak twice with that and maybe have a little bit left over to do half of another. So let's just say 2.5 stealths easily. So if I have pieces that come off in the future or anything like that, or what have you, I can easily just go back to that sheet, cut out what I need, and put it back on, versus what I had before, which was C-Deck, and all they did was, he only gave me the center hatch. Mind you, this used to be a screw cap, so that didn't have any kind of padding on it. So it was just that, this, obviously this one, and then these 2. That was it, and that cost me $80. So for another $80, I get to do the whole entire kayak, plus another kayak, plus probably half of another. It's great in my eyes, and it's super durable. I haven't had any issues with it. I've had it on there for maybe, I don't know, 6 months or something like that. And they have different options. You can get the brush kind, like what I have. I think they have a dimple texture, and also maybe just a smooth texture, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but I think they do. It's definitely worth it, and it helps keep the kayak clean. And mind you, it's also easy to clean, and keeps the sound down to basically nothing, which is a big deal for me. If I'm fishing the flats or just trying to be quiet, putting stuff down, I don't have to worry about that. Putting my paddle in a paddle holder doesn't make any noise. I stick a plastic on carbon fiber. So yeah, I definitely spend extra money and get that stuff if you can. So I'm going to show you guys how to adjust the seat to get into the high position. Mind you, the kayak's kind of resting on the bottom, so it's not as stable as if I was in the water, but it'll give you a general idea of how the whole process works. And I'm not going to edit any of it, so you can watch exactly what you have to do, at least how I do it. There could be other ways to do it, but this is how I do it. Alright, so obviously right now I'm in the mid position. So you got to undo both straps on the left and right. You can do it this way. I mean, this is the only way I really know how to do it. Mind you, I probably should have got the water. That was my bad. I probably should have got that out of the way first. I forgot that that was there. That and the speaker. So, alright, so I'm going to do that again just because of... So, yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. Hopefully my head's not cut off, but... So I'm going to do that again without that stuff in the back. So see how much I had to lean over there, and it's weird, man. Alright, so mind you, I'm kind of half on the bottom right now, so that makes it a little bit more stable. So I'm going to try doing it basically without trying to do a 180. And this is how hard it is, because you have to lift the feet that fold forward, and you have to somehow do that without really being able to see them. Which, how do you do that when you're, you know what I mean? You're like, you're so far away from it. So you kind of, like, you can't. I mean, I guess you could do it like this. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, how are you supposed to grab this? And you can't put, so the claws that go forward, the big black claws, you can't push them forward because they end up hitting the seat. So if you wanted to push them forward, you can't. So that's really the only way I know of, is you basically have to get up and do a 180. Like, you just can't. I mean, how are you supposed to grab this? I mean, I guess you could, you can't. You literally have to get low. And I've done this on the water just like this. This is the only way I know how to do it. That's it. That's the only way to do it. I don't know of any other way without having to do a 180, which, if you don't have good balance, you know, you might end up going man overboard. You know, there's just no way to grab it, lift up the seat, and then be able to grab the feet and push them forward and do it all kind of in one motion. It'd be nice if the claws of the feet, the big black ones that rotate and rest on the kayak, if everything was kind of just one piece. So when you went to go lift the seat up, everything just kind of like was in one motion. Almost kind of like how Wilderness Systems has theirs, where it's basically just, I think it just kind of, it just like not rolls, but it's just one motion. This is just too many. It's just awkward, you know. To adjust the seat, you shouldn't have to be doing what I'm doing, but that's just the way it is. And like I said, I don't ever get in the high position. Out of 1,000 times, maybe once. So, see what I'm saying? Like, it's easy to get it out while you're in the high. I say easy. That ain't easy. Mind you, and I'm not in the water, so it ain't easy. So it's something to think about if you're into adjusting the seat quite a bit, and I don't. So that's one of the reasons I keep it in that mid position, because it's the perfect height. But yeah, that's definitely a downfall of this seat, is getting to the high position is extremely hard.